Thank you for tuning in to watch our Invest Greater Fort Lauderdale 8th Edition Leadership Summit. You're about to watch panel number 4, Built to Scale, what sustainable business growth actually looks like in Broward County and the South Florida region. And if you enjoyed this panel, subscribe for more. We're bringing you leadership conversations from CEOs from across the country, one city at a time.
All right, so to kick things off, I'd like to say that growth is easy to celebrate, but it is hard to sustain. The panelists here represent 3 different perspectives, but do share a common thread. That is that intentional, values-driven expansion in one of the most competitive markets in the country. So for the opening question, I'd like to start off, this is for all. South Florida has seen an extraordinary influx of businesses, capital, and talent over the past several years. For organizations already operating here, that creates both opportunity and pressure. What has that environment actually felt like from your viewpoint? Eve, would you like to kick things off?
Sure. Thanks for that question, and thanks to Invest and CAA for having us here today, and happy to be here. I think, from a law firm perspective, the excitement about new growth, new business opportunities really, brings a demand for new and developing service professionals in the industry. For us, we've shifted somewhat our focus. Baker Donelson has been in Fort Lauderdale for almost 13 years. Will be 13 in August of this year. And we want to figure out how we can continue to be and bring our talents and become trusted advisors to our clients throughout the community, including with those new business opportunities that the area has seen grow and develop. And we continue to be excited about all of the new influx of business around Fort Lauderdale and around Broward County for sure.
Thank you, Eve. Andrew, it looks like you guys are having a pointing match, so whoever.
I will listen to the mayor. So when we started Recovery Unplugged, one of the reasons why was that I kept seeing the same thing being done over and over again and not getting a different result. And so Recovery Unplugged was started out of me taking several family members to multiple treatment centers here in South Florida, them doing the same thing for 100 years and it not working. And so we wanted to do something new and innovative. And so we started utilizing music as a catalyst for evidence-based therapy. Not what I thought I'd be doing, but 15 years ago, we were driving up and down here. Steve Einhorn was sitting there. One of my mentors showed us about 40 different places to go. And we went from all over South Florida and we chose Fort Lauderdale. And at the time we chose it because of the location and because the building was giving us the incentives to be there. But at the time it was interesting because nobody wanted us to be there. Everybody had a very interesting view of what a substance abuse treatment center would look like. Our first housing, which is right here off of Oakland and A1A, they formed a committee to get rid of us before we started. And the houses we bought were party houses where people would come and rent, and there'd be people lying on the street drunk. And we came in and there were 24-hour security and it was quiet by 10 p.m. And so, of all the chaos at the time, we wanted to do something different, and we did. And here we are 13 years later.
Oh, that's a great story. Thank you, Andrew. Excited to have you here. And Michelle?
Well, thank you as well for being here. And I've got to thank my team Tamarac and former team Tamarac and some people who have been part of the city. So thank you very much for being here. And we have our Chamber of Commerce Executive Director here too. The city of Tamarac has been in a state of growth since 1963. And I know this because we did the State of the City last night. So we started out at 5,000 people and we're very happy at 75,000 or approximately there too. So we know that we need to remain innovative and bring in what people need. We're multicultural, multi-generational. We go from 0 to 109.5, and Miss Nesta is amazing. But we know that we were built as more suburban. But how do we make sure that we continue to have the growth that we need, take people and cars into a walkable, sustainable community, but give people businesses to go to, things that they want to do, and have affordable, attainable homes, and be mindful of businesses that want to come into our city that may be something different than the community is used to. So we need to take all these things together and be smart about the investments we do and mindful about the ordinances we put in, so we can have it being a growth where all types of businesses can come in and everybody can live and enjoy and play safely.
Now that's wonderful. It does lead right into my next question, which is that sustainable growth can imply that you say no to some things. What is one opportunity your organization or administration has maybe passed on or deliberately slowed down in the interest of building growth more responsibly? I won't pick on Eve this time. Andrew, is there anything that comes to mind?
Every day, I get a call every week of somebody that tells me a good idea of a building that I should make another Recovery Unplugged here. And it's happened since we started. Well, when we started, people didn't understand what we did, but once we started getting the results that we did, and we partnered with Nova Southeastern University, and we have an outcome study on why what we do actually works, every week somebody tells me of somewhere we should open up. So I say no 99% of the time. And it really, for us, was being able to do it right the first time and then duplicate it. So we opened up Recovery Unplugged 2013, our substance abuse facility here, and then we opened up Recovery Unplugged Mental Health Institute 2023. And that was the, I don't know, 200th call I got about the old Henderson property, which had been a challenging place. And the gentleman that bought it completely renovated it. It was supposed to be an ultra high-end private pay facility that didn't work out. And so we ended up saying no to everything locally here for 10 years. And we opened up that facility that was extremely needed for people battling mental health that aren't abusing drugs and alcohol. And I say fortunately and fortunately, it's been full since the day we opened because it's needed. I always tell people I wish I had something else to do, but I'm glad that we're able to do what we're doing.
Thank you, Andrew. Michelle?
So any opportunities that we said no to? No.
All right, that was quick.
Short and
Just
sweet.
kidding. Is there anything else, Michelle, or no?
No, usually like the opportunities that come before us, we worked really hard to have the layout of our, oh, did I just blank on the terminology? But our land use development plans and our zoning, we worked really hard to redo everything. So when people knew that they were going to come to the city, they knew they were going to get to as close to yes as possible. Were they going to get, well, you need to tweak this, you need to tweak that? Yes. But our city tries really hard to make sure that when you're going to try to invest in our city, we get to say yes to you.
Thank you. Eve?
So from a law firm perspective, it's you pose a really interesting question, Ryan. Our goal at Baker Donelson, we want to grow, we want to serve the local community, but we want to serve our clients as broadly as we can. And, making strategic decisions for the office locally is important, but we also need to recognize like the, excuse me, the long-term goals. So, while there's nothing that specifically comes to mind about opportunities we turned down, but we have to recognize, and we have recognized that certain, if new attorneys cross our plates who may be interested in joining our firm, we have to recognize and look for the synergies and see if it makes sense not only for the Fort Lauderdale office, but for our firm as a whole. And similarly with clients for new business opportunities, for new matters across transactional litigation, whatever, compliance, regulatory work, what have you. Does it make sense in the larger growth plan of the office of the firm? Does it interface with our current clients, with our current skill set? So every opportunity has to be evaluated, not in a vacuum, but as part of the kind of the global picture. So it definitely presents a challenge, but it's one that we're excited to continue to have those opportunities come across our plates and be able to make those decisions.
Excellent. Thank you, Eve. And Andrew, before you mentioned 2013, and I know Baker Donelson's office opened in Fort Lauderdale in 2013. If any of you would be interested in taking a stab at this question, what was it about 2013 or just maybe kind of like the early 2010s that stood out as something attractive in the Broward County from a business standpoint?
So I've lived here 47 years in Hollywood, Florida. And for me at the time, it was just, I literally was at an event and I said it would be cheaper for me to open up a treatment center for my friends and family than keep paying for other ones. And that was 2012. And then I sat with Steve, and 2013 is when we started Recovery Unplugged. So for me, it was just the frustration of what was going on. Unfortunately, down here at the time, it was, pill mills everywhere and bad treatment center operators. And thank God those people that are not here and the right people came in. So it was just out of frustration at the time for me. I don't know with Baker Donelson.
Yeah. So I joined Baker Donelson in 2014. So I was about a year late to the actual office launch, but I know that the intention of coming into Fort Lauderdale specifically was made to serve specific client needs in the South Florida region. And Fort Lauderdale specifically was chosen for its central location in South Florida across the Tri-County area. And, at the time, there weren't a lot or too many non-Florida based big law firms in this market. And obviously in the last 13 years, that has changed immensely. But I moved to Florida to go to law school at the University of Miami. I didn't really know much about Fort Lauderdale, but when the opportunity to join Baker Donelson presented itself to me in 2014, I thought it was interesting. I thought Fort Lauderdale was exciting and growing. And just to see it grow in the last, the 12 years that I've been with the firm here in this market has been super exciting.
Great, thanks, Eve. This question's for Mayor Gómez. Tamarac's 2050 plan makes walkability and bikeability central to how the city scales, betting that reducing car dependence attracts the kind of residents and businesses that stay. What are the biggest obstacles to getting there, and how does that vision hold up against the pressure of near-term development demand?
So if you were at the State of the City last night, you would have seen or heard that basically we drove the streets of the city because everybody's in their cars. But also we talked about the MAP Broward program that's coming to help with one of our widest roads. It's a 2-lane road right now on Pine Island, McNabb, going south to Commercial. And it's a 3-lane to squish into 2, to squish back out to 3. It's our roadways. It's basically how we've driven all over Florida in general. We love our cars. I missed the segment where there was something about a flying car because I was being interviewed outside, so forgive me, but I don't know if we're going to be equipped for those by 2050. The parking spaces might be a little difficult, but we know that we need to make sure that all of our redevelopment, because we're built out. So we're trying to redevelop, and everything that we do this redevelopment, we always have something with a walking plan, and we have whether it's sidewalks and adding for bike lanes and making sure that we're connected. We work with the county. We're very happy with MPO and helping us as well to have our interconnected streets for the bike lanes. And it's also getting into a mindset. We're never going to get people out of our cars completely. However, we do have beautiful weather 9 months predominantly out of the year. If we have transportation, which I would love to have some more of that transportation coming in the form of some trains on the west side of the county, and we can have more of us getting onto those trains that you can't go pick out on the side of the road next to that bus stop where they have a lot of buses. Instead, they have cars there. It's just talking about it and working on it and investing in it. You've got to have the mind frame to do so. And I think people more and more are starting to realize that we need to open up to change. Change is not a bad thing. We don't have to separate out one for the other. It's how do we incorporate all of it together? And we do it in a mechanism that is sustainable. We make it where we ease everybody into it. We do it together. We help people who are afraid of change understand that it's not a bad thing. But I will tell you this, you're not getting me into an electric vehicle that flies unless it's a plane.
I'm just going to add real quick. I met the founder of Deroni Aerospace at NSU. I invested in their first round 3 years ago. And I do believe not only 2050, I mean, they're not going to get 2030, their goal, but I do believe in the next 10 years, we will have the flying cars. They are here. I met with Archer Aviation at a different event recently that's trying to compete with them in Miami. And I have no problem. I'm ready.
I'm excited for it as well. Andrew, to stay with you, Recovery Unplugged started with one facility in Fort Lauderdale and now operates 12 locations across 6 different states. At what point in that growth did the operational model have to fundamentally change? And what made this city a great launching point? I know you touched on it a bit, but if you would elaborate.
Sure. I like, again, because I grew up here and we're from here and our first clients, several family members that are alive and well, and clean and sober after 12 years. That's why we started here. I would say everything fundamentally changed with COVID. I am truly grateful that we operate in Florida, because we were able to still operate. Several of other places almost didn't. And over the last several years, because we use music, we went to Austin, Nashville, and then some other places in Charleston, DC, and now Jersey. But being here in Florida has been, for us, amazing. COVID was the big change for everything. We did a lot more. We have 300 people a day now doing online treatment once they get out of our facility, because they can do it from anywhere that they're at. But the ability to stay open here is the only reason why we're still in business. I know several people that weren't in business, and I'm grateful to the powers that be of Florida that allowed us to stay open.
Hey, thank you, Andrew. And for Eve, in your interview with Invest, you've described a meaningful shift in the sophistication of legal demand here, with companies seeking proactive compliance guidance rather than just litigation defense. What does that tell you about how the business community here in South Florida is maturing?
I think it's about really truly making a play to stay in Broward County, in Fort Lauderdale. Companies who are investing the resources to open here or operate here, whether locally in Broward County or in Florida generally, they want to be here for a long time. And by shifting that focus to look at how they can make sure their procedures, their compliance, their operations are streamlined and are compliant with rules and statutes, especially, when those businesses are ones that reach out to consumers, which most businesses these days do. Making sure you're compliant with the law helps you avoid that liability down the line with litigation. And it's those litigation costs that can potentially eat away at a company's profits, or in some instances for smaller companies, cause them to cease operating altogether. So the investment on the compliance side really shows me that they're here to stay, and they're looking towards that sustainable growth.
Great, thanks, Eve. This next question's for everyone. It's focused on talent. It's been consistently cited as a top constraint for growing businesses in South Florida. How are each of you approaching it? And is the region's quality of life advantage actually translating into a recruiting advantage? Or is that still more aspiration than reality? I understand affordability is a big part of it, which has been part of the conversation, but Andrew, would you like to add?
Sure. I mean, affordability goes both ways. And so our CFO, for example, when he graduated and got his MBA, he was looking to move to the Bay Area. So compared to, San Francisco, we were cheap. And he chose here and convinced his fiance, and they just got married 2 weeks ago, that South Florida and Fort Lauderdale, is a more economically viable place for them. And so that was also when he came here, and he was able to just like go to the beach, and he's not from anywhere near a beach. So he was excited about that. And so, for us, from where we were in 2013 to where we are now, it is, much more desirable than a lot of places in the country. I would also say, compared to, New York, I mean, not even comparable. The other side of the coin is that, for us at least, we have a lot of people that work with us when they're 12 months or more clean and sober, and they're just starting out. And that is a challenge, right? So I have several employees. We have over 150 employees locally, 650 now throughout the country. But I have several people that, get apartments together now, because that's the only way for them, to afford to live, within 30 minutes. And so that's been the one challenge. And so I think it's just like a lot of the economy right now on the, depending on, people making over $100,000 a year or more, we're much more desirable than in New York, for multiple reasons. But if you're, just starting out, it's very difficult. So that's where the challenge I see.
Thanks, Andrew. Michelle?
Alrighty, see, why wouldn't you want to live in Tamarac? We're right off of Commercial Boulevard. We got 95, we got the Turnpike, we have the Sawgrass. We're close to, if you want to go to Amaranth Park, the theater, sorry, hockey, whatever, sports, concerts, all that kind of good stuff. I love Sunrise, but Tamarac. So, and so it's really a great place to have people want to call us home, and then for coming to work for their city. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people. I have some formers that are here that they've wanted to work in Tamarac. Some of them may have left us, but for opportunities that we couldn't compete with. But as a city, we don't exactly have the most huge budget, but we have a quality of life that we have them be able to balance by coming to work in a good city and have a good environment with good residents and businesses. And they have every other Friday off. It's a 9-day work week. So, and you have a fun commission to play with, right? So come on, us elected officials, we have to have a lot of fun. So, it's a good city. So it's hard to get good talent because sometimes we don't have the ability to pay them what we know they really are worth, and we pay them as best as we can. I'm not going to step on the third rail that I usually kind of go to, like a mayor of a different panel might have gone there. But, these are things that we are very concerned about. There's changes about it. And when you look at a city, you don't always look at it as a business. And your city is a business. Your county is a business. Government is a business. We're not here for profit. We're here to serve. And that's one of the wonderful things that I find working for a city is because we're here to serve. But sometimes that doesn't always take care of the bills.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to follow up on that not 9-day work week, but 9-day work 2 weeks kind of thing. How has that been so far? I understand some other cities in Broward County. And do you think it would ever translate to the private sector? Not that it has to.
Well, so some days I'm an attorney. And I know some people didn't have a good thing about that earlier, but for others, but my office, we used to close at 1:00. So this way we gave the opportunity, if we couldn't have finances for other things, you gave them the quality of life for that day to know at 1:00 the office was closed. So the same thing for our employees, if they know that they can do things on Fridays. And I think we're flexible. I think we've learned through COVID and certain things that, 9 to 5 doesn't always happen. And sometimes you have things in life that you need to do a flex day and you need to change here. You're going to work a little bit later here, but you'll come in earlier or stay later another day. So thankfully the city does do that. Does it translate into, I don't think it'll ever go back. I don't think our employees would ever want it to go back. And I'm looking at some of the nodding heads like, no, please. And so, but I think it's something that the private sector probably has already started to do anyway, in realizing that this world is not the same as it used to be before COVID. But there is something to be said for going to an office, going to your job, hands-on with the other people you work for, because you need that connectivity. Is not just for roadways, it's for people, and it's to be able to be with one another and support one another through a day.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eve. Eve, was there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think building on what Mayor Gómez said, I think in a law firm perspective, you do gain a lot by being in the office. But Baker Donelson, we recognize that life happens and life happens outside of the four walls of your office. So, we're privileged to be able to offer that sort of flexibility to allow people to work from home a couple of days a week, or take those kind of flex days, or cut out early, with the, caveat of maybe coming in earlier a different day or staying late. The work's the work. The work needs to get done, and we all band together as a team, at least in our office in Fort Lauderdale, to make sure that it gets done, whether you're attorneys, paralegals, staff members, what have you. On the larger talent question, I think from a law firm perspective, I think there's a huge amount of talent here in South Florida. I think our local South Florida-based law schools generate great amounts of talent. And historically, the trouble has been keeping that talent staying here in South Florida. But I think that is changing, especially with this influx of large firms across Miami into Fort Lauderdale, into West Palm Beach. And we are seeing that shift in the types of applicants we get for our summer associate program, for any job postings that we have in our Fort Lauderdale office, not just for attorneys, but staff as well. And I think, I've been privileged to be able to lead such a talented team in Fort Lauderdale, and hopefully we continue to grow and expand and continue to encourage the great, talented Floridians to stay in this local market.
Excellent. Thank you, Eve. I just have a couple more questions for everyone on the panel. And but before I do that, I'll just say they're the most important because this is our final panel, and just a plug for what we have to come: a raffle, and awards, a happy hour, all the fun. But for everyone, and Eve, if we could stay with you, what is Broward's strongest asset when competing for business and talent? And what is one thing holding it back from fully realizing that potential?
I think Broward County and Fort Lauderdale specifically remain kind of that hidden gem of South Florida. I think there's so much beauty and splendor here locally that it has continuously gone unrecognized for the splashier Miami or even Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, that sort of thing. I think, the market still offers affordable office rents. I know when we were looking to move offices a few years ago, looking at the pricing for other downtown centers, Fort Lauderdale was, by far lower than other business centers in Miami and further north as well. I think we have, top tier office buildings, especially with the new growth around the area. There's just a lot of desirability in this market. On the negative side, I think it was mentioned on some of the earlier panels, traffic issues are, beyond reproach. I know plans are in place and just time will come, but with the influx of residents and businesses comes more cars on the road and more challenges on getting to where you need to go in a timely manner on a daily basis. And that certainly it proves frustrating at times. I also think, having lived through now 2 1 in 500 year flood events in downtown Fort Lauderdale, there's something needs to be done about the water, and whether it's the climate change or just the lack of the ability for the water to drain out because of all the development, which is great. Growth is great, but we have to have a plan for that. And I will say, as the location of our office building is subject to terrible floods at the corner of Broward and 3rd Avenue, it is, I would love to see a quick change on that front.
Right.
Thank you, Eve. Michelle or Andrew?
She let me go. All right. So, for us, Broward and Fort Lauderdale especially, about 70% of the people that we treat at our facilities are local meaning from Miami to Palm Beach. And so being in the middle is very helpful. We have, people coming every day, and then about 30% of the people that we have fly in. And so being 10 minutes from Fort Lauderdale Airport is extremely, helpful to us. So because of our staff and our clients that we treat from Miami to Palm Beach, Broward County's the perfect location. Fort Lauderdale is the perfect location for our mental health facility and our substance abuse facility. I'll reiterate the same thing that everybody said. Obviously, for the next 3 to 4 months, every other day it's going to rain. Sometimes it's not going to stop. We did have a van with people floating down the street 2 years ago. That was fun. We've had some, because our facility in East Fort Lauderdale and our housing in East Fort Lauderdale, it is a challenge, and it's become a challenge more and more each year. But we had literally got kayaks and canoes and made a fun with it. So it was it made an activity for an afternoon. Can't do that all the time, but that'd be the only challenge I see.
So I agree with my panelists. Location, and in that location, of course, you have Tamarac, so which is a great location within everything. And it does come down to the fact that no matter what you say about the heat or the rain or whatever, it's still, we are geographically well suited here in Broward County for people to want to come to us. As a former New Yorker, well, I'm always a New Yorker. it's never going to go away. But I said I would never move down here. We'd come down here to visit my grandparents, and I'm like, it takes them 30 seconds to realize a light change. Are you kidding me? There's no way I can't handle it. I'm not doing it. I'm never going to do it. So July 4th, 94, I said I'll live here for a year. And as you can tell, I am still here. So basically, the transportation, the traffic, we're going to get used to it. We get used to it. And I love the idea of the canoes and the kayaks and all that kind of good stuff. But it comes down to, we may want certain things to be fixed quickly. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of this, but as government, we move slowly. And if we don't have capital, we can't move quickly, which is why we also need that public-private partnerships. We need to work hard. And sometimes it's not sexy, but we need to deal with infrastructure. We need to say, you know what, that beautiful high rise you want to put up, we're all for it. But unless you help us underground, and unless you help us get here and work with FDOT and work with MPO, and we work with getting us some turn lanes, and we work with getting these lights synchronized, we're not going to make it. So instead of building upon building upon building to build it smart, grow wisely, so when people get here that they're happy, and we're not pushing out those people who have already invested in our cities and our county and want to go elsewhere.
Thanks, Michelle. And Eve, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, everything. I concur.
All right, and then one last one to throw in with the World Cup starting today. Any prediction on who will win? Andrew?
Let's go, USA.
USA.
The mayor's got USA nails, so I'm going to go with USA there.
And you're all invited to Colony West on June 24th, June 27th, July 3rd, and July 19th. We're having some FIFA World Cup watch parties together because some of us really can't make it down to Miami, or the tickets are just, even the parking, from what I heard earlier today, was not $2.50. So come for about $20 for the adults and $10 for the kids. Come have a good time and enjoy yourself.
All right, please help me in a round of applause.
Thank you all for staying.